And welcome back. Mortgages, remortgages, investment budgets. Many of us just struggle to get our heads around terms like these, and we need a little bit of expert help making sense of it all.
We do indeed. Luckily, financial advisor Paul Merriman of askpaul.ie is with us this morning to help as many of you with your financial queries as we can. As we mentioned earlier on, Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning.
The questions and queries have come flooding
Yes,
in.
yes.
So
be a great
people
response.
obviously need guidance and
They
help
do.
on some of the more basic stuff to much more complicated
yeah.
stuff. So we've a good cross-section, let's say.
Brilliant.
Let's go to the first one. Is it too late to start a pension? This is a 40-year-old construction worker. He's been self-employed since he was 19, has no pension. Is there any point in starting one now? And if so, what type?
OK, definitely not too late. I mean, he's
never too late.
Never too late. No, they got 28 years before the state pension kicks in, so a long time to plan for pensions. The best pension, first of all, is probably going to be a personal pension for that person to get involved in from a self-employed point of view. If you're self-employed, you do your tax return usually in October and November, the year after you make your profits. And in that case, you'd usually have an accountant that will tell you to offset some of your money into a pension plan in order to reduce your tax liability. So it's a complete no-brainer for self-employed people to be putting money into pension plans because they reduce their tax bill. So it's basically the revenue giving them support for later on in life. So yeah, never too late, get involved straight away. You can also put it on a monthly basis into a personal pension and then top it up in October if they needed to. Lastly on that one, if they're in construction, they might have been involved, they're in construction as 19, they might have been involved in the Construction Industry Federation's pension, the CIF pension, which was CIF years ago. But that's not a great pension. A lot of people are in that thinking they have a pension plan, but it's quite poor. So you just need to top up a CIF pension plan or a construction workers pension plan now with what's called an AVC to put more into the pension plan. So I wouldn't, just in case there's construction workers watching this morning, I wouldn't be relying on the construction workers pension scheme because it's quite poor.
OK, but as a broad rule, pensions are a good idea because I think some people fear I'll never see that money again.
Yes.
Yeah, when you've from 40 years of age, I think mortality rate for him probably or her will probably be in and around like 5%, less than 5%. You've got a 95% chance of seeing the money.
Okie doke.
So look at the good side.
Now, next one, there's a bit to get your head around here from Eileen. She says, we're a married couple in our mid-50s. Kids are reared and we own our own home. We've no loans, no credit card bills, savings of 20,000 in credit union, making no interest. We plan to save 10,000 a year from our earnings of 50,000 a year, and our jobs are secure till 65 unless illness. We have no pension plan. In October, we will receive 40,000 from a life insurance policy. Just wondering how to invest, or would we be better off saving it in a post office account? So there's money to play with there.
Definitely not the post office account anyway. So you'd want to be keeping some money aside. You mentioned you have 20k. You want to be keeping that money, some of that money aside, maybe 10 or 15,000 aside for what's called an emergency fund. So should something happen where there is loss of job, or they said in case they were out sick, their job wouldn't be guaranteed up to 65 years of age. So for that person, that couple, I'd be probably putting an income protection policy in place first of all to make sure if they're out sick, they're covered up to 65 years of age. That's a tax deductible premium as well, which is a complete no-brainer for everybody. But after that, I would be looking at, again, they said no pension plans. So there's no point in putting money or that 10 grand a year. If they're both on the higher rate of income tax, if they invest that 10,000 into a pension plan, they're going to get 4,000 back from revenue if they're on the higher rate of income tax, which is 4,000 back each year. So yeah, if they've no pension plans, that's probably the main thing for them to do. Also, they could consider if they're saving on a monthly basis, again, maybe going into an investment account on a monthly basis. And we've loads of information on how to invest on the askpaul.ie website or Instagram page. But it's very easy to invest. It's not that difficult. But yeah, that's what I'd probably do.
And they do plan on saving
looking at investing pension and obviously keeping that piece aside as well is very important. The emergency fund should something go wrong.
Of course, yeah, to have that fallback. The next one, Paul, is around a savings scheme for their child, and this is from Catherine in Dublin. It's an interesting one. I'm looking for a good savings scheme for my 8-year-old son. I know at the moment the state savings have a very low interest return. I remember the government introduced the SSIA account, and a lot of people invested in this scheme. The whole country did, I think, didn't they?
They did,
do you think the government will reintroduce this scheme, or maybe something similar? Also, was the SSIA scheme a success for the government?
It was a success for the government, but they brought it in order to keep inflation down low and to keep people saving rather than spending money. That's what the SSIA was really developed for. Inflation's really low at the moment, and interest rates, as that person has mentioned, are really low too. I can't see them introducing SSIAs in the near future. But the worst thing, in my opinion, you can do with the children's allowance, especially if a child may be under 10 years of age, is to put it into the post office or the credit union, because they're going to be getting practically 0% interest rate. So you should be investing that money. And again, I'll probably drive people towards, you have the askpaul Investment Club, and that is a really good fund through Zurich, and it gets, like, it's been doing 11% on annum for the last 30 years on average. It's a phenomenal thing to do if you have that time frame to invest. Now, if your child was maybe 10 or 13 years of age, you've only got 5 years to go to college, you mightn't invest all of it. But, you know, if you've got a 10-year term or an 18-year term with a newborn, there's no point in leaving it there earning zero for that amount of time. You'd want to be investing that money.
Okie doke. Now, we have a question here of somebody who has savings to the value of 30 grand. They're wondering, should they pay 10,000 off either their 3-year car PCP or the mortgage of 17 years?
Well, I think, you know, I'm not a fan of the PCPs from being on before, but it depends. Their PCP is on 0% finance. There's probably no point in paying it off. I'm not a big believer in paying your mortgage off in chunks either. I think the reason being is that I see some people paying that 10,000 off the mortgage, say, and then they go back and borrow it. So instead the mortgage interest rate is 2.5%, they pay the 10,000 off, and they go back into the bank 5 years later and borrow another car loan at 8%. Does that make sense? You're kind of giving your money back to the bank too quick. So I would always keep it either in an emergency fund, or if your emergency fund is sorted, I'd probably invest that money and leave it sit there for the long term, and I could use it should I need to for something. So it's basically to be your own bank rather than having to go back to the bank and borrowing all the time.
So neither?
So neither, unless the PCP is on a high interest rate.
Gotcha.
But a lot of those were 0% starting off. And as well as that, they mentioned the PCP is coming up, I think, in 2 or 3 years, they said. So they could use it then to clear it if they haven't got the funds to clear the lump sum, the lump that the PCP will want you to pay at the end of the term.
OK, just very briefly before we wrap up. Credit union loan. I have a loan in the credit union, but I have enough shares to clear it. Should I?
Yes, this is really basic. I don't understand why people don't do this, because you're basically borrowing your own money. So if you have 10,000 shares in the credit union, you know, and you've got a 7,000 loan, they're giving you 0% on that 7,000 or that 10,000 rather, and they're charging you maybe 6 to 8% on your own money. So it doesn't make sense. Now, would I clear it all? Again, go back to the emergency fund, leave yourself that you're not too stuck. So out of 10,000, you might clear 8 even to get the loan repayment right down. But there's no point in going to the credit union, giving them your money and then borrowing it back off them for 6 or 8%.
See, people are just in the habit of playing ball in terms of the way the credit union wants you to work.
But they don't even want that, to be honest with you. They usually, I hear there's loads of people saying the credit union won't like me doing that, or, you know, I want to keep up with the credit union, or I wouldn't like to go into the lady in the credit union and tell her she'd be disgusted if I paid the loan back. She doesn't care. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's maybe that more friendly relationship. Paul, thank you so much.
No problem, guys. Thanks
Paul.